It is now my pleasure to introduce this morning's keynote speaker. John Ismay is a student at Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism and a 1999 graduate of the United States Naval Academy. Spending over 11 years on active duty, John served first as a deck officer in the Surface Navy and then transitioned to Navy Special Operations, where he qualified as a deep sea diver, parachutist, and explosive ordnance disposal officer. He left the service at the end of 2010 as a lieutenant commander. During his time in uniform, he made 4 overseas deployments, including one to northern Iraq during the 2007 surge, where he conducted counter-improvised explosive device operations in Tikrit and Mosul. More importantly, he is a 1995 graduate of Gonzaga College High School and played second row on the first varsity rugby team Gonzaga fielded. Not bad. Since leaving the military, he's put the skills Mr. Rick Cannon gave him to use by publishing essays in Foreign Policy and the New York Times. In January of this year, he wrote a piece for the Times about his friend Eric Christensen, a Gonzaga graduate and SEAL officer who gave his life in Afghanistan in 2005 during the battle depicted in the book and recent movie, Lone Survivor. And it was that column, in addition to his column, his blog post called Live the Fourth, Brother, that brought him to our attention. You'll likely have noticed that, in fact, Father Planning pointed out that today's collection at St. Al's was to benefit the Eric Christensen Scholarship Fund, which funds a scholarship to Gonzaga each year for the son of a military officer who might not be able to come to Gonzaga otherwise. Thanks to all of you who supported that fund this morning. And in fact, before I introduce John, I would like to welcome Eric's parents who are here with us this morning and thank them for everything they have given to Gonzaga and to this country. Please welcome Rear Admiral Ed Christensen and his wife Sam, Eric's mother. I should also welcome John's mom and dad, Arthur and Mary, and John's brother Dave, Gonzaga class of 1989, who are here with us as well. Thank you very much for being here. Now please join me in welcoming today's keynote speaker, John Ismay.
Thank you for the kind words, Al. And good morning to you all men of I Street. I want to start out by telling you that I just turned in my master's thesis for grad school, and as much time as I spent on it, I think I spent more time writing these words here. Why? Because Gonzaga gave me the great honor of asking me to come talk with you about the friends I made here and about what being a man for others means to me. This came as a surprise to me. I don't think I've done anything remarkable in my life or anything that friends of mine haven't done better. I wasn't the best scholar or the best athlete here. Far from it, truth to be told. A few months ago, when a friend of mine on the faculty wrote me a note and told me Father Planning wanted to call me with some good news, I'm embarrassed to say my reaction was, who's Father Planning? I didn't realize I'd been so far removed from I Street that I didn't know the name of our new president. So my apologies, Father. Preparing for today, I've reflected on the time I had here and what it did for me. Well, I hadn't kept up with the changes in faculty and hadn't even really seen all the renovations to the school. I knew one thing. I'd always had Gonzaga, the part that mattered, the part that informed who I am as a person, the part that made me say I was educated, proud to say I was educated by the Jesuits. When I think about the Brotherhood of Gonzaga, I've started more than 20 years ago when I followed my big brother Dave here. He graduated in the class of '89, and I'm grateful to have him here today. I had lots of the same teachers he did. Sometimes it was a plus, but mostly it just meant they expected more out of me. Such as when I showed up to my European history class on the first day of my sophomore year. My teacher, Mike Carolyn, was taking roll and checking off students one by one. When he got through all the names A through H, this man I'd never, ever seen before on campus turned straight to me and said, John Ismay, obviously the smaller, weaker, dumber brother of David.
Did he really?
That is a true story. We all laughed too. I'm pretty sure that's something you couldn't get away with at a public school. What it told me is that having an older brother here who exceeded so incredibly well had marked me. Gonzaga expected me to do more, to do better. It wasn't always the easiest thing to follow a guy who graduates second in his class at Gonzaga and then graduates first in his class at the Naval Academy and receives a Rhodes Scholarship. But for everyone who said, wow, that must be a tough act to follow, I'd say, no, it's not. I'm proud of my brother. He's the best. So when you set your sights on things that are really hard to accomplish, it helps to have someone in your corner who can help you along the way and show you it can be done. So Dave, thanks.
You're welcome.
It helps when you have brothers to look up to who set the example. I imagine that many of you here have older and younger brothers as well that are here at Gonzaga. They are your blood brothers, but know that your classmates are no less a part of your life. Gonzaga is, at its core, a brotherhood, and it's a bond that will last your whole life. It's the same bond you see here in the class of 1944. Many of these men volunteered to accelerate their studies so they could graduate early and enlist to fight in our country at one of its darkest hours. If that surprises you, it shouldn't. These are men for others, and they are some of the best I Street has ever produced. For you students, you should know that you're no different than these men. They were just presented with a different set of challenges. If this was 1944 and not 2014, I'm confident many of you would have made the same decision. And why is that? Because Gonzaga builds men who think of others before themselves, plain and simple. I've been asked to come speak with you today, largely because of my friendship with someone who represents the very best of the ideal we strive for here at Gonzaga. His name is Eric Christensen. He was my friend, and I loved him like a brother. I first met Eric on Buchanan Field when I was around 11 or 12 years old. My brother David and he played football together. Eric came to I Street as a junior because his father, Ed, a Navy captain, had been stationed in Japan, and Eric started high school there. So even though he joined the class in 1990 here halfway through, he quickly made friends and excelled at lacrosse, football, and band. Eric's father, Ed, and mother, Sam, who we're honored to have here today, moved from Japan when they received orders to the Naval Academy. And Eric made the 60-mile trek from Annapolis to I Street every day. When Eric graduated from Gonzaga, he too applied from the academy, but was asked to spend a prep year at Phillips Andover in Massachusetts before he could begin. Eric was disappointed, but he didn't let that setback keep him down. So while all of his buddies were going off to college, he quickly found a home in Andover and excelled there too. At that time, the Navy called his parents away again, this time to San Diego. But that didn't stop the Christensens from doing everything they could to make sure Eric had the best education possible. What an incredible sacrifice. What a selfless thing. It's no wonder that their son Eric was a selfless man, a man for others. Lieutenant Commander Eric Christensen was a Naval Special Warfare officer. Naval Special Warfare being the official term for what's better known as the Navy SEALs. Eric was killed in action in Afghanistan on June 28, 2005. He was leading a rescue mission when the helicopter he was in was shot down by Taliban fighters. As a SEAL officer, Eric was in command of a task unit working to find insurgents determined to kill Americans and destabilize the Afghan government. You may have read about that mission in the best-selling book Lone Survivor, or seen the mission depicted in the recent movie of the same name. I'm here today to tell you that that story isn't something abstract. It's not something that just belongs in the history books. This is a story about men who lived and breathed and loved, one of whom walked the same hallways you do now. So many of you have probably heard about Eric and seen the memorials to him on campus, but I'm here to tell you part of the story that you may not know, some of who he was as a person, the friend I knew. The path he chose was hard. When Eric was at the Naval Academy, he tried out for the SEAL teams but wasn't selected, so he went to the fleet. And it was in the summer of 1997 that I first really got to know him. I was sent to San Diego for summer training as a midshipman. I stayed with my brother Dave and was introduced to a circle of friends. Again, there was Eric. But here's the kicker. Eric was the first of my brother's friends to treat me as an equal, not just a novelty as someone's little brother, but as a peer. That meant a lot to me. Eric had that compassion. Our paths crossed again and again, and then in 2001 we became roommates. Eric, who'd been teaching at the Naval Academy, was nearing the maximum age for consideration and felt the call to try again for a SEAL billet. This time he was selected, and he moved from the East Coast back into our old house in San Diego to begin training. We were all so proud of him. Lots of people will tell you that Eric wasn't what some people would call the quote-unquote typical SEAL. There's lots of reasons why, but here's one that I think comes as close to encompassing most of them. I think back to when I was at the Academy, and those of us who were interested in SEALs and EOD were in competition with each other. We all wanted to be the best operators, the best warriors we could be, go through the toughest selections, the toughest schools, join the most elite units, but that doesn't make you invincible. That's something I didn't know when I was your age. Back then I thought wearing a certain badge made you cool, and being cool was everything. It meant that you were better than somebody else. I know now that's stupid and wrong. A man for others doesn't look at things that way. He is inclusive, not exclusive. The man for others looks where he can serve, and he does his best. And that was Eric. He was always there for his friends no matter what. When we lived together in San Diego, our third roommate was another naval officer named Bjorn who served at a SEAL support command. On a nighttime training exercise, Bjorn shattered his ankle and could only move around on crutches with great difficulty. Eric and I were getting ready to go out on a Friday night soon after Bjorn was injured, and Eric asked our roommate why I wasn't getting ready too. Bjorn pointed to his cast and said he was staying home. Eric said, "Nope, you're coming with us." Then he half-carried, half-wrestled Bjorn into the car. The bar we went to was packed shoulder to shoulder, and that night, when Bjorn needed to cross the bar when nature called, he didn't see a way to get through the crowd on his crutches. Eric just said, "I got it." Point over his shoulder, signaling Bjorn to follow. At 6'4" and 230 pounds, he definitely got people's attention. The sight of Eric moving across the floor caused a significant and instant path to appear, allowing the much smaller Bjorn to crutch quickly behind him. Eric waited outside till Bjorn was done, then cleared a path back to our table. None of us asked Eric to do that. It's just how he was built. You know, I've been asked by lots of people if I can find meaning in the loss of someone like Eric, and I honestly don't know how to answer that question. But I can find some measure of solace in keeping his memory alive. One of the ways to do that is to write about him. For me, writing eventually became something that I didn't just do for a grade in Cantwell Hall. I started because I found stories like Eric's that needed to be told. Part of the reason for writing is to try and find meaning in a time of incredible loss and sadness. The wars of the past 13 years have killed and maimed more of my friends than I care to count right now. The realization that there's no rhyme or reason for the deaths of my friends is difficult for me, but I've come to accept it. At Eric's funeral, I heard more than one person say, "What a waste." But it wasn't a waste, it was combat. And in war, the enemy gets a vote in the outcome too. When 4 of his SEALs found themselves in a bad way on a mountaintop, they called Eric for help. Of course he went. Of course he did. It couldn't be any other way. Not for Eric. He was a man for others. When you're a man for others, you answer that call. When you're a man for others, you get on that helicopter. When you're a man for others, you fight for your friends. And when you're a man for others, sometimes that means you pay for that with your life. In the book of Isaiah, there's one passage that always resonated with me, and I think it resonates for many people in this room. It's Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8, and it reads, "And the voice of the Lord said, 'Who will go for me? Who will I send?' And I said, 'Here I am, Lord, send me.'" Years ago, back at our house in San Diego, Eric and I talked about Kairos. For us, it was a formative experience in our lives, maybe the formative experience in our lives. More important than the academy, more important than dive school or SEAL training. I won't speak about what happens in the 3 days of Kairos, but I can say that it meant so much to me that when I deployed to Iraq, I asked my mom to give me a replacement Kairos cross before I left. I wore it on my dog tags. When I was in the alleyways of Mosul looking for IEDs, I carried a machine gun, but I also carried Kairos with me. I had Gonzaga with me. So Kairos only lasts 3 days, but it can stay with you forever. All I'll say about the experience is that at the end of it, you were left with a profound challenge. What will you do on the 4th day? What will you do when you have to leave Kairos behind and re-enter the real world? For me and Eric, it wasn't something we took lightly. For guys in our line of work, or in our lines of work, training and deployments meant frequent and lengthy separations from our friends. So maybe it was that goodbyes became more meaningful, even if they were routine. So whenever Eric and I say goodbye, we said, "Live the 4th, brother." It was the last thing I ever said to him. I'm not here recruiting you for the military. It's not for everybody, trust me. But at its best, it's an honorable thing to serve. And while this may sound trite, it's true. You can be anything. You are quickly entering a time in your lives where everything you've dreamed of doing will become possible. You'll leave your parents' home. Many of you will go on to colleges and universities. Some of you will seek other paths. You could get drafted out of school and play pro ball. Run for Congress, you only have to be 25. And NASA's taking astronauts as young as 26. So what will you do with these opportunities? Know now that you may not succeed at first, just as Eric had to try out twice before being accepted in the SEAL teams. Know that the thing you're dreaming of now may change, or you may decide to change course along the way. So give yourself permission to do that. But if you have your heart set on something, don't let anything or anyone stop you. Never doubt that you have the ability to achieve the thing you want most. Now, I graduated from this school before most of you were born, so hopefully this translates. Seniors, in just a month or so, you will take Gonzaga with you. To the juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, take this opportunity and get everything from it you can. Incoming freshmen, you're about to embark on one of the most important experiences of your life. Live it. I've talked about choices you'll have, decisions you'll soon make. The opportunity you have to make yourself into exactly who you want to be. You have to decide if you're up to the challenge that Gonzaga has given you. And if you should ever fail, will you pick yourself up and drive on? Will you accept the help and support of your friends and family? Know that being a man for others isn't something that's tied to your job description or to your career. Being a man for others is tattooed on your soul. So love each other and help each other. Spend your time here at Gonzaga making the most of it. Live as brotherhood. May God bless all of you, and remember to always, always live the 4th. Thank you.